Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Eric and I like to read, and today I'm going to be doing my January wrap-up. So I know it's been a while since I've recorded a video. I've been very on and off this year with getting recordings done, so that's my bad. Totally on me, sorry about that. But today I'm going to be going over my January wrap-up, and so I know we're already halfway through February, but I still want to share my thoughts and feelings about the books that I read in January. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. I'm also filming in front of these shelves. These are my partner shelves. I film in here whenever something else is happening in the house that's making like noise, and this is my only time to film. I'll come in here because it's nice and quiet in here, so it's perfect. So yeah, these are all his books. He's very much a fantasy reader, so as you can see, it's definitely different from what I have on my shelves. I do like fantasy too, but not as much as he does. Okay, so one of the first books I read was Aquaman, and it's not really a book, it's a graphic novel, but this is one of the first ones that I did, and so this is volume 2. This is following Aquaman and his struggles with being part of the Justice League, but also dealing with being the King of Atlantis at the same time, and how he navigates those two different worlds, because his Atlantean civilization that he like kind of rules over isn't exactly fond of the fact that the other people he's with are earth dwellers, and or not earth dwellers but land dwellers, and so there's definitely like a divide between the two, and so he's like that gap that bridges that divide. It's definitely interesting to see like how he navigates that. Overall, I thought this one was pretty action packed, and you got to see like a lot more behind the scenes on some of the villains side of things, so that was really interesting. And yeah, I think I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a good time. Then next up I read another graphic novel, and so this is the Superman one, and this is Superman and the Men of Steel. So this is kind of, it's not really an origin story, it's just following Superman once he's like already within the workforce doing his thing, being a reporter at the Daily Planet, but then on the side being Superman. And it's kind of him just in his early days, I would say, probably like when he's still in his 20s, going through and like navigating that and trying to like keep up this appearance of being like a struggling journalist who is living in like a slum apartment, barely getting by, barely getting his rent to his like landlord, stuff like that, but then on the side also being like Superman and hiding that identity. And so yeah, it was pretty good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. There was lots of action in this one, and I'm a big fan of action when it comes to comic books, obviously, because like I like to read the intense action scenes and like the fight scenes and see all their powers happening. But I also really appreciate a graphic novel that has like a good narrative behind it, and I feel like this one had like a really nice like subtle narrative in the background that was just like heartwarming. I don't know, Superman is kind of like a heartwarming hero because he's like that little farm boy that grew up in Kansas and then goes on into like the big city and does his thing, and I don't know, he's just he's one of those characters that you just, it's really hard to like not like them. So yeah, I enjoyed reading about it, and I would definitely read more in this series. Next up I read Murderbot, and so this is Exit Strategy. This is number 4 in the Murderbot series, and I really enjoyed this one. I think I would give this one a 4, maybe a 5 out of 5 stars. Actually, I think I did give this a 5 out of 5 stars. This one was really good because it kind of like ties a lot of stuff together that has been happening within the other 3 Murderbot novels, and this one I felt very like relatable to Murderbot, which I know I've said that before, but in this one there's a lot of like Murderbot protecting people that they care about, and it's just weird to think like they're a robot but they care about these people, and there wasn't as much like snarky robot talk or like inner monologue that the robot has, but it was more like doing action and showing that Murderbot isn't just a murderbot. Like there's more to them than that and that title. And so yeah, I just thought this one was really good. It tied a lot together. It was nice. I liked it, and so I'm excited to continue with this series. I think there's like 8 of them out there now or something like that, so there's definitely more to get into, but yeah, I'm having a fun time following along with Murderbot's journey. The next book I read was City of the Uncommon Thief, and this is one of my NetGalley books. And this one was, it was okay. I think I would give it probably like a 3 out of 5 stars. It was, the premise is essentially like it's a quarantine city, and all these people are going from like tower to tower on these like tightrope things, and they use like these rags to like slide across on them. And there's like this whole civilization on top of this quarantine city, but it's also built up from the bottom, so like people are living within the city walls, but nobody really knows what happens on like the ground floor of it. And all these people in the top towers are like doing trade and like commerce and stuff all up there. And every year these people are guaranteed like these ships to come in and bring them like resources, and then they sell stuff that they've created as well to survive. And also there's no animals here. So it was like an interesting premise, but I feel like the author tried to do too much all at once, and it just felt a little bit jumbled and all over the place, and wasn't really like following one specific like storyline. It just kind of went all over. I feel like it could have used a little bit of work getting like pieced together a bit better before being sent out. But like it had a lot of really cool ideas, and I liked the really cool ideas in it. I also didn't really care for like the main character or like the side character you're supposed to like. I think they weren't that likable, so that was kind of like difficult. There was one like little part at the end that was awesome, and I'm glad they threw it in there because it definitely like added some layers to it, and it made you think back on the whole book. So that was really cool. I also had a version that wasn't like fully formatted. It was, but it was kind of like an ARC copy, and the formatting was not the best on ebook. So I feel like that kind of had an impact on how I felt about it, because it made it hard to read. So it made me feel like a little disconnected as I was going through the book. But yeah, overall just a 3 out of 5. Then next up, I read Marriage Bargain with Her Brazilian Boss, and this was just a fun one I wanted to pick up from Harlequin. Unfortunately, this one I think would probably be a 2 out of 5 stars for me. I had high hopes for it because the main character of this book is like a coder, and I am a web developer as like my full-time day job. So I thought that would be really cool that there'd be elements of that in it, but like there was barely anything in there. And I found that the main character was just like a little bit whiny and pining after this other character for so long, and it was just like, come on, like let's get somewhere already. And it was like maybe almost near the end before any like spicy bits even happened. And so when I'm thinking Harlequin, like I'm thinking like I want some spiciness, I'm coming here for the spice, and it barely had any of that, so it was kind of just lackluster. So yeah, this one was only just a 2, but that's okay. These reads are very quick, so like I don't mind powering through these ones, and yeah, it was alright. The second last book I read in January was Grown. This one was a 5 out of 5 star read. This was so friggin' good. I don't even know. My mind was blown reading this book. I was so pulled in. It was like a thriller to me. So this is following Enchanted, who she's trying to get her music career started. And so she goes to this music competition to try and win the competition and get recognized. So she ends up getting recognized by Corey. I think his name is like Corey Fields. And he's like this really popular musician, but she doesn't win the contest, but he still reaches out to her and wants to like take her under his wing and get her started with her music career. Now the thing is, Enchanted is only 17, and this Corey guy I think is like 28 or 29, and he starts like texting her, chatting her up, kind of like getting in her orbit so that they can like connect and do music. But like this guy has ulterior motives, and like everybody knows it, and it's so creepy, but Enchanted still goes along with it because she wants to get her music career started. And so she goes with this guy and goes through a lot of different trials. The book synopsis though, it says that Enchanted ends up being found in a room with Corey murdered. And so from there, you kind of have to like figure out what happened to him. And everybody's kind of like blaming Enchanted. And so from there, yeah, the story goes. All I can say is like I had the ick multiple times reading this book because of different actions that were done by different characters. And I felt like, it's really hard to like say how I felt for this main character. I just wanted them to get out of this situation that they were in. It was hard to read at times because this character is going through like these intense things and you're just sitting here like reading it hoping that everything is going to be okay. It's just, you know, that like there's the dark side of the music industry that's coming into play here, and you're just like, oh my god, like, oh, I got shivers multiple times. I didn't know what was going to happen, and it made me so nervous. I'm glad I like finished this book. I couldn't put a book down, honestly. Like I was reading it nonstop, and yeah, I think this is like the first time in a long time that I've read like 200 pages in one sitting, but wow, this book just captured me, and I had to finish it. Yeah, this book was very powerful. There's a lot of trigger warnings going into this book, so definitely like look up the trigger warnings before you read this, because yeah, it's intense, but definitely worth the read. And then the last book on my list, which I finished my whole TBR, so I added another one on as like an extra, was Ironside. I wanted to finish off this trilogy just so like I can see if I was going to keep it or not. So I've decided I'm not going to keep it. This was a 3 out of 5 stars. I think it was the best of the trilogy, which the third one is not usually the best of the trilogy, but in this case, I think it was. Like they wrapped it up really well and kind of got all the characters back together for this one final thing. It was okay. I don't know. It was not amazing. I definitely like Holly Black's other series, like the Cruel Prince trilogy, way more than this one. But I mean, that makes sense because this one was the one that she wrote before it. This was like her like first series where she was getting into the feeling of it, and so yeah, it was okay. It's an urban fae story that didn't like stay with me or anything like that, but it was still a decent read. So yeah, 3 out of 5 stars, and that's that. And those are all the books that I read in January. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of these books, or tell me what your favorite book was in January in the comments down below. If you guys want to support me, I have a Patreon and a Ko-fi page, which I'll put in the description down below, as well as links to buy my bookmarks. You guys know the drill. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification button so you get notified when I post new videos. I post my videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And until next time, keep on reading.